I don't remember much of the crash, just a blur of headlights swerving, a deafening screech of metal against pavement, and glass shattering like it was exploding around me. My ribs felt like they were breaking, my head spinning faster than I could make sense of it. Everything was too loud, too bright, too unreal. The pain in my chest was sharp, burning, like someone had taken a knife and twisted it between my ribs. I tried to breathe, but it was like I was drowning on dry land. My vision blurred, then snapped back into focus. I could see the smoke rising from the crumpled wreck of my car, hear sirens wailing in the distance. The smell of burning rubber and gasoline choked me. Someone, maybe it was a paramedic, maybe just a stranger, was shouting my name. Everything felt wrong, out of place. I couldn't process anything. My head pounded, and the world seemed to be spinning in slow motion. But in the chaos, the only thing that kept clawing at me was the fact that I hadn't checked my phone. I had to know what she was doing. Was Emily worried? Was she going to freak out? Or was she already done with me? With shaky hands, I fumbled for my phone, pressing it to my ear like it was my lifeline. The screen was cracked, but I could still make out the icon for her texts. I opened it, heart racing, expecting a flood of messages. "Where are you? Are you okay? I'm worried." Something like that. Something that would make sense. Instead, there was a voice message. Emily's voice. Light, playful. "Hey, babe. So, I hope your day's going all right. I'm gonna keep this short. I'm heading to Rome with the girls. It's a spontaneous thing, and honestly, I don't want to be bothered. I'll be good, you'll be good. Get some rest and feel better, okay? Hope you have a quick recovery. Bye." I blinked, trying to process what I just heard. Did she just say what I thought she said? I must have heard it wrong. It didn't make sense. I was lying in the wreckage of my car, my body bruised, my life in a state of chaos, and Emily was off on a trip to Rome. She didn't even sound like she was concerned. A sick feeling twisted in my gut, and I replayed the message over and over, trying to figure out what I was missing. Was I dreaming? Was this some kind of sick joke? But no. The longer I listened, the more it sank in. It wasn't a joke. She was leaving, and I was just here, lying in a broken car, barely holding it together, and she was going to Rome. No calls, no concern, no questions. I didn't even know how to feel. Part of me was angry, burning with confusion, but another part of me felt cold. Number. Like maybe I had been fooling myself for too long about what this was, about what we were. Because if she didn't care that I was lying here, how could I? I slammed the phone back down on the seat beside me, trying to shake off the dizziness. The pain was still there, throbbing in my chest, but it was nothing compared to the way my heart had just shattered. And yet, despite all of it, despite the shock, despite the anger, despite the desperation clawing at me, I felt a strange sense of clarity. She'd made her choice. The hospital room felt too white, too sterile. The bright lights above me buzzed faintly, and the cold, unfamiliar smell of antiseptic made my stomach churn. I was alone, except for the steady beep of the heart monitor and the occasional rustle of nurses' footsteps outside my door. The pain in my ribs was unbearable, but the emotional ache was worse. My mind was running in circles, replaying Emily's message over and over. The phone was still beside me, face down, as though I could avoid the reality by not touching it again. But I couldn't stop myself. I reached for it, my fingers trembling as I unlocked the screen. The last thing I needed to do was call her, but I had to hear her voice again. Maybe this time, it would be different. Maybe she'd explain. Maybe, just maybe, I could hear the concern I so desperately wanted from her. But when I hit her name to dial, a wave of frustration surged through me. Number? I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to play that game. She made her choice. And it stung more than anything ever had. Instead, I opened the bank app. I froze for a moment, the weight of what I was about to do hitting me all at once. The shared account we had, the one we'd used for everything, house payments, groceries, vacations, everything. She had access. She could take whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, and she did. I couldn't remember the last time I'd made a financial decision without her being involved, without her needing something. A new purse, a spontaneous trip, a new dining set. The list never ended. And now I was here, alone, bleeding, broken, confused. She was in Rome. While I was stuck in this hospital bed, trying to make sense of her absence, She was sipping cocktails in some foreign city, probably laughing with her friends about how wild their weekend was going. I didn't even think twice. My fingers moved fast, almost mechanically, as I navigated to the section where I could freeze the accounts. I couldn't stop the dark satisfaction that spread through me as I clicked the button. Just like that, no access. No more swiping, no more relying on my paycheck. She had always been quick to make demands, and now, for once, there would be a consequence. I leaned back in the bed, staring at the ceiling. A part of me expected the guilt to hit me. Maybe I'd regret it. Maybe I'd call her tomorrow, apologize for being rash. But the satisfaction, however dark, felt almost empowering. She would have to figure it out on her own. No more rescue missions, no more cleaning up after her. My phone buzzed. I stared at the screen for a long moment before answering. It was her. Emily. She hadn't waited long to call, but I could already tell by the tone of her voice that she was expecting me to be upset, to beg, to be desperate. "Jason," she started, her voice wavering just a little. "Hey, I saw your text, and I know this must be hard, but I really didn't think you'd go that far." I didn't respond right away. I just held the phone to my ear, letting her words hang in the air. "Are you still there?" she asked, her voice softening. "Jason, I'm sorry. You know I didn't mean it like that. I just thought a little space would be good for both of us. You've been so stressed lately, and I didn't want to add to it. I thought you'd understand." My jaw tightened. My grip on the phone started to slip as I struggled to stay calm. The nerve. She didn't want to add to my stress? How was this not adding to it? "Space?" I finally managed, my voice low. "You're not adding to my stress. You're leaving me while I'm stuck here in this bed. I'm literally in a hospital, Emily. Do you understand that?" I could hear her sigh on the other end, like she was about to explain herself. But I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want any more empty words. The anger inside me was a storm now, ready to break loose. You know what? Forget it," I said, cutting her off. "I froze our accounts. You and your friends can figure it out in Rome, because I'm done." There was silence on the other end, and I felt a flicker of satisfaction. But it was short-lived. "Jason, wait. What do you mean you froze the accounts? That's not fair," she said, her tone shifting from apologetic to defensive. I felt a rush of power surge through me. It felt so good, so right. "I mean what I said," I replied, my voice firm now. "You wanted to do this on your own? Now you get to. Have a nice trip." I ended the call, tossing the phone onto the bed beside me. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had control, like I wasn't just a placeholder in her life. And I didn't care if she didn't like it, if she was pissed, if she thought I was being dramatic. It didn't matter anymore. She'd made her choice, and now she'd have to deal with the consequences. Just like I had been doing for so long. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her explanation. I didn't even need her. It was time to move on. The hours passed slowly, and the sounds of the hospital seemed to grow louder. The beeping of machines, the distant murmur of nurses and doctors, the clattering of carts down the hall. But despite all the noise, I couldn't focus on anything other than the phone call with Emily. Her voice, that soft defensiveness, still echoed in my mind. I knew she'd call again. I just didn't know when. Sure enough, my phone buzzed again a couple hours later. Emily's name flashed on the screen. This time, I didn't hesitate. I picked it up. "Jason, please, we need to talk," Emily said, before I could even say hello, her tone tense and hurried. "What you did, it was too much. You can't just freeze the accounts like that. I don't understand why you're being so dramatic about everything." I didn't respond right away. Instead, I squeezed my eyes shut, taking a deep breath. I couldn't afford to lose my temper. Not yet. "Dramatic?" I repeated, keeping my voice steady, though I could feel the heat rising in my chest. "You left me in the middle of a goddamn crash, and now you're calling me dramatic?" There was a long pause. Then Emily let out a frustrated sigh. "You're really going to keep bringing that up, aren't you? Fine. I'll admit it, I wasn't thinking clearly. But you don't get to make decisions for both of us, Jason. This isn't just about you. This is my life, too." I could feel the tension building in my throat. She wasn't even close to understanding what she had done. She was still spinning it like I was overreacting. "It is just about me," I said, my voice growing firmer. "Because, for the first time in years, I'm doing something for myself. I'm done putting everything else before me, done cleaning up your messes." I could hear her taking a breath, preparing her next defense, but something in her tone shifted when she spoke next. Wait, hold on. What messes? She asked, clearly confused. What are you talking about? I thought we were okay. I thought we were going to work through this, you know? Get past this. You don't get it, Emily, I said, the words coming out in a rush now. You think you can just disappear and do whatever you want while I'm lying in a hospital bed, trying to stay alive? You think you can just go to Rome and I'll sit here and be fine with it, while you get to play around like nothing happened? You had a choice, and you chose not to give a damn. There was silence on the other end for a moment, and when Emily spoke again, her voice was quieter, but I could tell she was starting to panic. Jason, please, she said, and it sounded like she was almost pleading. You know I love you, right? I didn't mean it like that. I needed some space, okay? I needed to get away. Things have been so heavy, and I thought it would be good for us. Just a little time apart to get some clarity. My blood was boiling now, and every word she spoke felt like a slap. Time apart? She had made her decision, and she had no idea the impact it was having on me. Time apart? I repeated, my voice shaking with frustration. I'm lying here, in pain, not knowing if I'm going to make it, and you're in Rome with your friends trying to get clarity. I don't need your clarity, Emily. I need you to show up for me for once. I needed you to care. I could hear her choking back a sob on the other end of the line, but I wasn't ready to back down. Not now, not after everything. I'm done, I said, my voice steely now. You're not getting any more of me. I've been the one holding everything together for so long, and I can't do it anymore. If you need time apart, fine. But don't expect me to keep playing this game. There was another long silence, and I could almost feel her trying to piece together the wreckage of the conversation in her mind. Jason, I don't want this to be over. I don't want to lose you, she whispered, almost as if she were talking to herself. I closed my eyes, swallowing the lump in my throat. The last thing I wanted was to hear her regret. Then stop running from the truth, I said, my voice quieter but still firm. Stop pretending like this is some kind of misunderstanding. The truth is, you're not who I thought you were. And maybe I'm not who you thought I was either. I ended the call before she could respond, my hand shaking as I dropped the phone on the bed next to me. I stared at the ceiling for a long time after, my mind whirling, my chest tight. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was a chance she could explain, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized something. She was never going to see it the way I did. She was never going to take responsibility for the way she treated me. And that was something I was finally ready to accept. The morning after the call, I sat in the sterile hospital room, staring at the empty walls. The beeping of the heart monitor beside me was the only sound, a constant reminder of the fight I'd just had, and the uncertainty of where my life was heading. The weight of what I had done, freezing the accounts, cutting Emily off, felt heavy. But at the same time, there was a sense of finality. For the first time in ages, I wasn't waiting for her to fix things. I wasn't going to pick up the pieces of our broken relationship. I was done. The door to my room opened without warning, pulling me from my thoughts. I expected a nurse or a doctor, but it wasn't either. It was Olivia, Emily's best friend. She stood there in the doorway, her face tight with concern, a half smile pulling at the corners of her lips. Hey, Jason, she said, stepping into the room. Can we talk? I didn't say anything at first. I just sat there, eyes fixed on the hospital sheets. What did Olivia want? She'd always been sweet, but this felt like more than a friendly visit. I know this must be a lot, she continued, sitting down in the chair next to my bed. Emily's been calling me non-stop. She's really upset, Jason. She's hurting. I could feel my jaw clenching, but I forced myself to stay calm. You came here to defend her, huh? I asked, my voice low, not hiding the edge of frustration. Because if you're here to tell me I went too far, then maybe you should go back to her. Tell her I don't want to hear it. Olivia flinched, but she didn't back down. No, she said quietly. I'm not here to defend anyone, Jason. I'm here because I care about both of you, and I think you're both making huge mistakes. Making mistakes? I repeated, the bitterness in my voice creeping back. She's the one who left. I'm the one lying here, wondering how the hell I'm supposed to get through this without her, and she's the one having a good time in Rome. Olivia shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable. I know it's hard, Jason, but Emily didn't mean for any of this to happen. She just... She just got scared. She doesn't know how to handle conflict, you know that. She's not perfect, but she loves you. And she's hurting too. I could feel my chest tightening as I turned to look at her. Hurting? I repeated, shaking my head. She's not hurting. She's off on vacation. She didn't even care to check on me when I was in that wreck. Olivia sighed, rubbing her temples like she was already exhausted. I get that. But you've got to understand. You've both been carrying so much baggage for so long, and now it's all coming to a head. I didn't want to hear this. I didn't want to hear about how we both had problems. I didn't want anyone telling me that somehow, after everything that had happened, I was the one who was in the wrong. No, I said, more forcefully this time. I've been carrying it alone, Olivia. I've been the one putting up with her shit, letting her do whatever she wants, letting her walk all over me because I thought that's what love was. But she didn't love me. If she did, she wouldn't have left without even blinking. Olivia was quiet for a moment, letting my words sink in. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. I think she does love you, Jason. But you can't ignore the bigger picture. She needs you to be there for her. She needs to know you won't walk away from her when things get hard. I stared at her, trying to process what she was saying. Walk away? That's exactly what I had done, cut her off. I'd taken the one thing she could rely on, the one thing she always had, the money. You think she's going to change, just like that? I asked, my voice sharp. That she's going to come back and everything will be fine? That I'm just supposed to forgive her for everything she's done? Olivia didn't respond right away. Her eyes dropped to the floor, like she was weighing her words carefully. I don't know what's going to happen, Jason, but I do know that Emily's struggling, and so are you. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her, at the quiet pain in her eyes. There was something about her sincerity that made me feel uncomfortable. It was like I wasn't allowed to feel angry anymore, like I had to accept responsibility for my own actions too. But I couldn't, not yet. Emily's been calling me, Olivia continued, voice quieter now. She's been asking me to tell you she's sorry. She doesn't know how to make things right, but she wants to. I took a deep breath, closing my eyes. She wants to. That didn't sound like the Emily I knew, the Emily who could barely look me in the eye, the Emily who took off to Rome without a second thought. I wanted to believe Olivia. I wanted to believe that things could go back to normal, but I couldn't shake the image of Emily laughing with her friends, miles away from me, completely oblivious to the wreckage she'd left behind. I don't know, I said finally, my voice quiet. I don't know if I can forgive her, Olivia. Not after everything, after what she did to me. Olivia looked at me with a mix of empathy and sadness. I get it, I really do. But I think maybe you're holding on to something that's already broken. You can't keep carrying it. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't let go. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. She was right in some ways, but in others, it felt like I was giving up too soon, too easily. Olivia stood up, giving me one last look. Just think about it, Jason. Please, for both of you. And then, without waiting for a response, she left the room, the door clicking shut behind her. I sat there for a long time, in the heavy silence, the weight of her words pressing on me. I could still hear Emily's voice in my head, the one from the phone call, the one that didn't ask how I was doing, the one that never seemed to care. But Olivia was right about one thing. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I couldn't keep carrying this anger. It was eating me alive. And maybe, just maybe, I needed to let go, before I completely destroyed whatever was left of me. But was I ready? Was I ready to forgive her? I didn't know, but I wasn't ready to give up either, not just yet. The days following Olivia's visit felt heavier than usual. The silence between Emily and me stretched longer, thicker, until it felt like an impenetrable wall. I could barely bring myself to look at my phone, half expecting another message from her. But there was nothing. No apology, no explanation. Just a void. I was starting to feel the weight of it all, the anger, the betrayal, the confusion. But somewhere deep down, I knew it wasn't just about what Emily had done. It was about me, about my own choices. I couldn't keep waiting for her to fix things. It was time to make a decision. That afternoon, after another restless night of thoughts that never seemed to end, I heard a knock on the door. I was still in the hospital bed, staring out the window at the cloudless sky, when the door creaked open. I didn't need to look to know who it was. Emily. She stepped in slowly, her eyes flickering between the floor and my face. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. Her hair was messy, pulled back in a loose ponytail, and her expression was somewhere between hopeful and hesitant. "Jason," she said quietly, taking a step into the room. She didn't wait for me to say anything. "I know you're probably pissed at me. I deserve it, but I need to talk to you." I didn't say anything. My throat was tight, and part of me wanted to tell her to just leave, to get out and never come back. But the other part, the part that still loved her, that wanted things to work, remained silent, waiting. She sat down at the edge of my bed, avoiding my eyes. "I've been thinking about everything, about what happened," she started, her voice soft, almost fragile. "I was selfish. I thought I could just take a break and everything would fix itself. But I see now how wrong that was. I shouldn't have left you alone like that, not when you needed me most." I wasn't ready to forgive her. I wasn't ready to even look at her the way I used to, but part of me, just a tiny part, still wanted to hear what she had to say. "I should have been there for you, Jason," she continued, her voice breaking slightly. "I'm so sorry. I was afraid of everything falling apart, of not knowing how to handle it. And I thought if I left for a little while, maybe it would all make sense, but I was wrong. The room felt too small. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to shout at her, to tell her how much she had hurt me, how much she had betrayed me. But I didn't. I just sat there, letting her words wash over me, trying not to let them break me. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to be this person," Emily said, her eyes finally meeting mine. "I know I've made mistakes, and I know I've let you down. But please, please don't give up on us. Don't give up on me." I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in a long time. I saw the woman I had fallen in love with, the one who once made me laugh, who once filled my life with joy. But I also saw the woman who had turned her back on me when I needed her most, the woman who had walked away without a second thought. "You walked away from me," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "When I needed you the most, you just left. You didn't even care. You didn't even think about me for a second." Her face crumpled, and she reached out to grab my hand. But I pulled it away before she could touch me. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I really am. But I love you, Jason. I'm sorry for everything. Please, can we try? Can we fix this?" I looked at her, at the woman who had been my everything, who had been my partner, my best friend. And I realized something that hurt more than anything else. I couldn't fix this. I couldn't fix us. Not anymore. "You're asking me to forgive you," I said, my voice steady but cold. "But I don't think I can. Not this time. I can't keep letting you break me over and over again. I've been there for you, Emily. I've done everything for you. And when it came down to it, you weren't there for me." She was quiet for a long moment, the weight of my words sinking in. I saw her shoulders slump, her face fall. "I love you, Jason," she said again, her voice barely audible. "Please don't leave me." I shook my head slowly. "I'm not leaving you. You left me a long time ago. You just didn't realize it." She stood up then, tears slipping down her cheeks, but I didn't move. I didn't go after her. This wasn't about saving her. This was about saving me. I think we're done," I said softly. "I think I've been done for a while." And with that, I saw her face fall completely. She didn't say anything else. She just turned and walked out of the room, leaving me in the silence. For the first time in months, I felt free. But the freedom wasn't without pain. There was still a part of me that wanted to fight for her, for us. But I knew, deep down, that I couldn't. Not anymore. I closed my eyes, leaning back against the pillow, letting the weight of it all wash over me. I was finally letting go, and it hurt, more than I had ever imagined. But it was the only choice I had left. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe again. The next few days felt like a blur. The hospital room, the constant stream of visitors, doctors, nurses, family, everything was distant, like I was watching from a place outside myself. I was physically recovering from the crash, but it was my mind that was in the deepest pain. The wreckage of my car, of my body, was nothing compared to the wreckage Emily had left behind. She didn't call, not once. I didn't expect her to. Not after the way I had shut her out, not after the things I had said. But in the silence, A strange sense of peace began to settle in. The constant weight of her absence felt like a burden lifted. I hadn't realized how much of myself I had given away until I had nothing left to give. It was quiet now. My phone was still, unbothered by the usual waves of texts and calls from her, from friends asking how I was, from family checking in. The silence, though, was the strangest part of it all. I almost started to wonder if Emily would ever reach out. But then I realized, no. I had already made my decision. I had already let go of the person who had never truly been there. It was easier than I thought, easier than I ever imagined. The day after Emily left, I had a brief visit from my mother. She was a whirlwind of worry, though the concern didn't really reach her eyes. She sat in the chair next to my bed, twisting her hands, glancing at the door as if she were looking for an escape. "I talked to Emily this morning," she said, her voice soft, almost apologetic. "She's really upset, Jason. You know she's been through a lot, too." I didn't respond immediately. I just stared at her, not wanting to engage in the conversation I knew was coming. Not now, not after everything. "You should call her," my mother added, her voice tight. "She's really trying to fix this. She's sorry. She really is." I raised an eyebrow, my lips pressed into a thin line. "Sorry," I repeated, my voice low. "Sorry for what? For walking away when I needed her? For leaving me in a hospital room while she was halfway across the world? I don't think sorry is going to cut it this time, Mom." She flinched at my words, and for a second, I almost felt guilty. But then I remembered everything that had happened, the repeated mistakes, the years of me being there for her and getting nothing in return. "She's been calling me every day," my mom continued, her voice pleading now. "She wants to come back. She wants to fix things, Jason. Can't you just try? Can't you just talk to her?" I shook my head slowly, the words coming out like they were made of stone. "No, Mom, I'm done." Her face fell, the hope fading from her eyes. "You're sure?" I nodded. "I'm sure." She sat back in the chair, her shoulders slumping. She didn't say anything else. Neither of us did. The room fell back into that heavy silence, the kind that stretched between us like an ocean. When she finally left, there was no real resolution. She didn't argue anymore. She didn't ask me to reconsider. She just left, her footsteps soft as she walked out the door. For the first time, I didn't feel the usual tug of guilt. I didn't feel that familiar weight of responsibility pulling at me. I felt free. The next day, I received a letter from Emily. It was a simple envelope, the handwriting familiar. My heart twisted as I stared at the paper, unsure of whether I wanted to open it. But I did. I opened it, slowly, my fingers trembling as I read her words. "Jason," it started, the words so simple, so stark. "I don't know what to say. I know I've hurt you, and I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I want you to know that I love you. I always have. I was scared of losing myself in us, scared of how much I depended on you. I thought I could fix everything by running away. But I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I'll always love you." I stared at the letter for a long time, my chest tight, my heart aching as I read it over and over. Her words seemed so empty, like they were too little, too late. "I always loved you." I crumpled the letter and tossed it onto the side table, not even bothering to finish it. I couldn't. It didn't matter anymore. Her words meant nothing when her actions had said everything. She had already shown me who she was. I wasn't going to let this letter change that. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to let go of the anger, to let go of the pain. It didn't matter anymore. I was done. I was moving on. The days that followed were quiet, calm. The silence became less oppressive and more peaceful. I stopped expecting her to reach out. I stopped wondering if she'd come back. I started focusing on myself again, something I hadn't done in years. I took long walks, I read books, I cooked meals that made me feel good, things I hadn't had time for in so long. I began to remember what it felt like to be me again, without anyone else's shadow over me. It wasn't easy. There were moments when I thought of her, moments when the loneliness crept in, moments when I missed the idea of us. But those moments passed, the ache faded, little by little. The more I let go, the more I realized how heavy the baggage I had been carrying was, how much lighter I felt without it. And then, a week later, my phone buzzed. It was from Emily. I stared at it, not sure if I wanted to open it. But curiosity got the best of me. I tapped the screen. It was a single message. I miss you, but I understand. I hope you find peace. I read it once, twice, 3 times. I wasn't sure what I expected, but what I felt was nothing. Just emptiness, the kind that comes after closure, after the final word. I smiled. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. The finality of it felt like a weight lifted from my chest, the last piece of her slipping away into the past, and I was finally free. The weeks dragged on, but somehow they also passed in the blink of an eye. The silence from Emily didn't break. There were no more texts, no calls, no apologies, and the longer I lived without hearing from her, the more I realized how much my life had shifted without her. I spent my days doing things that felt right. I worked on the things I had neglected, my business, my health, my own damn happiness. I went out with friends, I enjoyed the peace of my own apartment, and I slept through the night without wondering what Emily was doing or if she was thinking of me. I was finally starting to get my life back. But even with the peace, there was still something hollow about it. It was like I was missing a part of myself, the part that had been devoted to her, that had spent so much energy trying to hold everything together. And then, one evening, as I was having dinner at a local bar, I got a call. It wasn't from her, not directly. It was from a number I didn't recognize. I answered, only half expecting it to be some sales pitch or telemarketer. But when the voice on the other end spoke, my stomach dropped. Jason? It was Andrew, Emily's husband. Hey, it's Andrew. I froze. Why was he calling me? The last thing I expected was a call from him. Hey, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. What's going on? Look, I know this is going to sound strange, he continued, his voice tight, almost hesitant. But I needed to reach out. Emily. Well, she's really not doing well. I don't know if you've heard, but she's been having a rough time lately. She's not taking any of this very well. I took a deep breath, trying to process what he was saying. She's not doing well? I asked, my voice a little colder than I intended. How so? She's been in a kind of a downward spiral, Andrew explained. She's struggling to find a way to cope with everything. Her work, her friends, everything just feels like it's falling apart. And I mean, you were a huge part of her life. She won't talk to anyone about it, but I think she really wants to speak with you. I don't know how to get through to her anymore. I didn't respond right away. The silence between us stretched longer than I was comfortable with. The whole thing felt like a test, like Andrew was trying to gauge how much I still cared, how much I was willing to sacrifice for Emily. Why are you calling me, Andrew? I asked, the words coming out more blunt than I expected. If Emily wants to talk to me, then she can call. She's an adult. Andrew sighed heavily on the other end, like the weight of his words was bearing down on him. I know, but Jason, I'm telling you, I've never seen her like this. She's breaking, and if you're even thinking about giving her another chance, this could be the only time she asks for help. I don't know what she's doing, but she's lost. I can see it. I sat back in my chair, the buzz of the bar around me suddenly feeling too loud. The idea of Emily being so broken, so lost, it gnawed at me, twisted something deep inside me that I had buried. But I wasn't the person I used to be. I wasn't the person she could lean on anymore. I wasn't the one who would pick up the pieces and make it all better. Not this time. Not after everything that had happened. Andrew, I'm sorry, but I can't help her, I said, my voice firm. Not anymore. I've tried for so long. I've given everything I had. And now, it's time for her to figure it out on her own. There was a long pause on the other end. I could almost feel Andrew's disappointment, his frustration, his helplessness. I understand, he said quietly, but just know, she's not the same without you. She's never been the same. You meant more to her than you'll ever know. I didn't know how to respond to that. I just let it go. Thanks for calling, Andrew, I said, before ending the conversation with one last hollow goodbye. The silence that followed in the bar felt heavier than the conversation itself. I stared at the table for a long time, my mind spinning with the weight of the decision I had just made. It was final. No more second chances. No more picking up the phone when she called in the middle of the night. No more carrying her burdens. For the first time, I felt free. But there was no sense of victory, no rush of triumph, just an emptiness that I had to learn to live with. A quiet finality. I paid my tab and left the bar, stepping out into the cool evening air. The city felt different now, quieter. I walked through the streets, not hurrying to anywhere, just letting the night swallow me whole. I had made the right decision, I told myself. But the ache in my chest didn't go away. It never did. And as I walked, I realized something. That was the last time I'd ever look back. I didn't need her anymore. I had nothing left to give. And that was the greatest gift I could ever give myself. I was free. Months had passed. I didn't hear from Emily. I didn't hear from Andrew either. The silence that followed my decision to let go was both peaceful and unsettling, like an empty room that had once been filled with voices, laughter, and arguments. The weight of it all seemed lighter, somehow. It wasn't that I had forgotten or that I didn't care. It was that I had finally made peace with it, with them, with everything I had sacrificed, everything I had given. I had given enough. Now, it was my turn to focus on myself. One afternoon, as I walked through the city, I found myself near a restaurant Emily and I used to frequent. It wasn't a place I went often, but for some reason, that day I felt drawn to it. The place had always had a certain charm, a quiet, cozy spot where we would spend hours talking, laughing, eating, a place where I thought we were building a future together. Now, standing across the street, the memories felt distant, not painful, not sharp, just gone. The restaurant hadn't changed, but everything surrounding it had. I had changed. I stood there for a moment, staring at the familiar sign, the warm glow spilling from the windows, the laughter spilling out from the door. And for the first time since everything happened, I didn't feel that familiar pull to go inside, to check the corner table where we used to sit. There was no longing for what we'd shared. There was nothing. I turned away, my hands slipping into my pockets, the brisk autumn air cold against my skin. I felt lighter with every step, as though with each passing moment, I was shedding another layer of the past. And then, as I rounded the corner, I saw someone. A figure leaning against the brick wall of a nearby cafe, looking at their phone. It took a moment for me to realize who it was. Olivia. She spotted me at the same time, her face breaking into a smile that seemed genuine, but a little forced, like she wasn't sure if she was welcome. "Jason," she said softly, stepping forward. "I didn't think I'd see you here." I stopped in my tracks, giving her a nod. "Hey, Olivia, how have you been?" She looked at me, her eyes searching my face as if looking for something. "I've been okay. And you? How are you really doing?" I hesitated for a moment, the usual defensiveness rising in me. I wanted to brush it off, tell her I was fine, but I didn't. "I'm good," I said simply. "I'm doing better. A lot better." Her smile softened and she nodded, as if accepting the answer she knew I would give. "I'm glad to hear that." There was a pause, an uncomfortable silence hanging between us before she spoke again. "Emily's been trying to, she's been trying to make sense of everything. She misses you. She really does." I could feel a brief flicker of something in my chest, a small ache. But I pushed it down. I was past this. I had moved on. "I think she's starting to understand," Olivia continued, her voice gentle. "What she did, what happened, she just didn't know how to handle it. I don't think she's ever been good at seeing things from other people's perspective." I looked at her for a long moment, wondering if she truly understood what had happened. "I'm not angry anymore, Olivia," I said quietly, feeling the truth of it settle into my bones. "I'm just done. I don't have anything left to give her. I gave everything I had." Olivia's expression softened, and she let out a small breath, as if she was finally hearing the words she had been waiting for. "I get it. I do. It's just, Emily hasn't been the same. She's been struggling to find herself without you. I think deep down, she knows she screwed up. She's sorry. I wanted you to know that." I nodded, my eyes drifting to the street ahead. "I'm glad she's starting to realize that. But it's too late for me. I'm sorry. I can't go back." She studied me for a long time, and when she spoke again, her voice was quiet, almost like she was speaking to herself more than me. "You're right. It is too late. Sometimes people realize things after it's already over. But you're doing the right thing, Jason. You're not letting yourself be a backup plan anymore." I smiled faintly. "I guess I'm not." There was a long pause, The kind that stretched between two people who both knew the same truth, but were still trying to make sense of it. I wasn't angry anymore, but I wasn't ready to forgive Emily either. I wasn't ready to pretend like everything that had happened could be swept under the rug. "I'm sorry, Jason," Olivia said softly, almost as if it was an apology for Emily, for everything that had happened. "I wish things had turned out differently." I looked at her, and this time I truly meant it when I said, "I'm not. I'm not sorry things turned out the way they did." Olivia seemed to sense the finality in my voice, and with a small, understanding nod, she took a step back. "Take care of yourself, Jason." "I will," I said, a weight lifting off my shoulders as I turned to leave. "You too, Olivia." I walked away, not looking back, but feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me as I stepped into the bustling city streets. It was over. It had been over for a long time, but now I could finally admit it to myself. I was free. And as I walked through the city, I realized that freedom didn't mean being angry. It didn't mean holding on to the past. It meant walking away from everything that weighed me down, even the good parts, so I could finally find peace. I didn't need Emily anymore. I didn't need any of them, and that was the truest victory of all.